Hello, Brooke. Today I want to ask you, how do hormones in women affect ADHD symptoms?
Yeah. So there are three sex hormones: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And those hormones can fluctuate in a person's menstrual cycle, and they can also impact women's ADHD symptoms. So you ask how?
Hmm.
Well, let's start off with estrogen. Estrogen is low during our cycle or even in menopause, and our dopamine production is also low. So when dopamine is low, we've spoken about dopamine in our past episodes, they can cause our ADHD symptoms to increase,
Hmm.
right? So in general, dopamine with ADHD is either like below baseline or above baseline. And when that estrogen is low, so is our dopamine. Um, Additionally, with that, the lower the dopamine levels during menstruation can impact our memory, our focusing abilities, our executive function, which we're going to be talking about. Actually, we talked about in the last episode, our
Hmm.
pain thresholds, and something that is near and dear to me, 4.5 months off of my pregnancy. Some individuals with ADHD report improved abilities to focus while we are pregnant. So that is because of our higher estrogen levels. Interesting, right? So I had to get off of my medication that I was taking while I was pregnant. And I was concerned that because I was off Adderall, that my ability to focus was going to decrease. Now, it did decrease slightly, but I did find significantly higher focusing abilities when I was pregnant than off pregnancy, so postpartum, which is, I think, very interesting. Additionally, 57% of pregnant individuals with ADHD also report postpartum depression after their first child. So the odds are that you will have postpartum depression. Going through menopause, you can experience frequent hot flashes because of the estrogen levels. I also got those hot flashes and night sweats while pregnant and also breastfeeding. Testosterone for certain individuals who produce higher testosterone. With that, there's no conclusive evidence that it plays a role in our ADHD symptoms. So that's interesting and fortunate for individuals who produce that higher testosterone. And the third thing is the cortisol. And cortisol is our fight or flight stress hormone. And cortisol is something that fight and flight stress hormone is something that is near and dear to ADHDers. So typical for neurotypicals is that cortisol starts off high about an hour after waking up and then lower in the evenings. But in 2021, a study found that young individuals with ADHD, their cortisol progression tends to start low in the morning and increase slowly before the evening and then taper off as the evening gets closer.
Hmm.
So these are all just different ways that cortisol and estrogen can impact you. As I mentioned, testosterone fortunately does not have any conclusive evidence that it plays a role in our ADHD symptoms, but your estrogen 100% can impact your ADHD symptoms. As I mentioned, memory, focus, executive functions, pain thresholds, postpartum depression, which when you have depression, it could impact your executive functions and they can shut down. So that is my 2 cents about women and hormones.
So, Brooke, you talk about a lot of important and interesting points. I want to ask you about pregnancy and especially when it nears childbirth. Um, Based off your experiences, because we've gone over these episodes because you were going through these experiences and these topics. So, so we talk about ADHD symptoms, but how did it like affect you specifically with relationships and mood in the workplace? Like, how did you see it? We can talk about hormones, but how did you actually feel it? Like what I want to ask you, like how did you handle it? How did you deal with um, pregnancy and near childbirth?
Yeah. So definitely had night sweats. Woke up in the morning feeling like I took a shower.
Hmm.
Not one of those good showers.
Hmm.
I was not taking my Adderall, as I mentioned. So I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to focus as much, but I was able to focus because of the estrogen levels.
Hmm.
I was eating so much sugar.
Hmm.
Now, I know we have all of our theories about whether or not ADHDers should not eat sugar or not, but I was craving it.
Hmm.
And I felt when I ate a lot of sugar and sweets that, my focus spiked and then dropped immediately, as we talked about with Andrew Huberman. When you increase the sugar, you'll get that focus and then it drops.
Yes.
So, and I was craving more and more sugar as I was eating it. I also was drinking a lot of soda, which I don't typically do. I was craving that. I could not drink coffee for my caffeine. So that was impacting my ability to focus as well.
Why couldn't you drink coffee? I'm curious. As
Just the acid, it was too acidic for me, and I was actually repulsed by the taste and smell of coffee when I was pregnant.
Mhm. And were you
Now there's no problem.
there you go, there you go. And were you beating yourself up about eating like sugar? Like, was it really?
No, I wasn't beating myself up.
Mhm.
I definitely kind of leaned into whatever I was craving, which it was only sugar that I was craving.
Mhm.
So no, wasn't beating myself up. I just really liked sweets, and it kind of has continued since then. So
Yeah, as we all do, with sweets. But yeah, okay. Thank you, Brooke.
no problem.